are live. Jared Taylor on YouTube. You're not only the first one in, Jared Taylor, on draft day. You were in here before we even went live, man. Before I clicked the go live button, it said Jared Taylor. Good morning, everyone. So good on you, Jared Taylor. Good morning to you. And Tracy Bogert is in here with a link on a Dallas Cowboys draft picks. Tracy, I'll check that out. Great show. It's draft day. We're all over it. Hector Gomez, what is up? Good morning, Hector Gomez. The pride of Central Catholic High School. Go to Hector Gomez's GoFundMe page where he is raising money to build a 60-foot Sonny Melendrez statue and a 30-foot Jesus statue to stand right outside Central Catholic High School in San Antonio. Jared Taylor is ready for the draft. Good man. I'm ready. It's like Christmas. Let's see, there's Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, and draft day. Pretty much. Those are your high holy holidays. And if they're not holy enough, then maybe you can get high. Here we go. Like Afro Man.
The Chris Duel Show.
You know I got to mute for our evil overlords. Evil Facebook overlords.
Now, Chris Duel.
Glory, hallelujah, and praise be to the football gods on high, led by the chief football god who ascended into football heaven. Once he was a mere mortal, then he was the greatest football coach ever. Longhorn alum, by the way, Thomas Wade Landry, now looking down upon us as a football god, showering us with football blessings. Welcome in to draft day. And no, not the Kevin Costner movie that Shannon can't stand. I'm talking about the actual draft day, NFL style, Chris Duel show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, and the hardest working man in radio, Jeremy KOLOK, making the show go. Let's see. The high holy holidays, Christmas, of course, Easter, we just celebrated, Thanksgiving, I guess. Okay, 4th of July, that's very American. And then draft day. It's like Christmas morning, only round one happens at night, and we gather around our draft tree, and we open up our draft day gifts of new football players who maybe this time will lead America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, to the promised land, to that Super Bowl that Tony Romo and Danny White were unable to deliver. But maybe, just maybe, number 4, Dak Prescott, can lead the way with new blood. Thank you very much. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, have you put up your draft tree at home with all of the draft ornaments, little mini football helmets and beer cans and margarita mixings? And are you ready for draft day?
I haven't done that, but that's an excellent idea because, draft day, I feel like if you were to set the season of draft season right to tomorrow or today is the Christmas, but the season I feel begins with the combine because that is when we truly get to know these prospects. And Chris, this today's draft specifically 2 years in the making. As we recall, 2020 went virtual, but that was supposed to be the draft that was originally held in Vegas. So I know Vegas is ready. I know these players are ready. I've seen the stage set up by the Bellagio, everything that, the strip has been shut down. And it is the ultimate red carpet that these athletes are going to walk as their lives are changed tonight. And that's my favorite part, is watching them get those phone calls, their families' reactions, their friends' reactions. We'll all remember CeeDee Lamb's girlfriend at the time. Don't know if they're still together. The 2 phones, him making sure she wasn't looking at either of them. Those are my favorite.
yeah.
The little things you get around what goes on in between phone calls is fantastic.
Speaking of Las Vegas and significant others like girlfriends and the birds and the bees, I was just listening before we came on the air. And Jeremy, first of all, Jeremy, good morning. How are you? Good to see you this morning in Cowboy Blue.
Yeah, thank you. That was a very calculated decision. Chris, I just want to say I was doing all right, but I heard you down the hall on Big Brother Down the Hall, News Radio 1200, a little bit earlier this morning. I guess you did a draft hit this morning.
We
with
talked
the
a little
news.
draft, yeah.
So I was like, I'll tune into Chris, see what's on his mind early in the morning. And I heard you make some comments about the great Des Bryant, who, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, is still the Cowboys franchise receiving leader, the record holder, a fine career in the silver and blue. But other than that, I'm doing all right. But
and you are an Oklahoma State partisan, so I
just
I
a
did
fine
make
Dallas Cowboy, I think too. But who am I? I'm just the guy on this side of the glass.
Well, and actually, the way that came up, Tim Merriman, hosting the morning news this morning on 1200 WOAI in San Antonio, asked me, do you think there will be any Cowboy surprises in this draft? And I said, I don't think so. The Cowboys lately have drafted pretty well, and then I brought up your boy, Des Bryant, Jeremy, and I said, well, there was that time when we didn't see it coming, and Jerry traded up to get Des Bryant. And you're right, Jeremy, he had some big moments as a Cowboy wide receiver, but I think you will agree he was a little bit of a head case, especially near the end. I think he still is today. We as Cowboy fans, if you don't deliver us to the promised land, Danny White was a spectacular quarterback. Drew Pearson, who we've had on this show, newly in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, who caught many passes from Danny White, will tell you, as his number one go-to wide receiver, Danny White was one of the best quarterbacks ever as a Cowboy. And in the NFL, clearly Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach are ahead of Danny White, but Danny White and Tony Romo and, quarterback, that's your main expectation as a Cowboy. But guys like Des Bryant, who didn't deliver the goods that we really need, such as a Super Bowl, I guess they're not remembered as fondly. Back to what I was going to tell Shannon, Jeremy, and I saw you were in the control room. If you had the sound up on the previous show, Two Pros and a Cup of Joe, Shannon, I heard this on that show, maybe at about 10 till 6. Speaking of Las Vegas, outside Las Vegas, there is a brothel known as the Chicken Ranch, kind of a famous brothel. And apparently one of their top, let me put this nicely at 6:16 in the morning, one of their top employees, one of their top ladies who works at the brothel, her name is Roxanne Price. She says she is offering a complimentary visit to the brothel where she will perform whatever services are requested of the number one overall draft pick tonight in the NFL draft. Some think it's going to be Aiden Hutchinson. We do have some late controversy there. So in addition to everything else that goes with being the number one overall pick, according to Chicken Ranch brothel employee, and apparently she's one of their best, Roxanne Price, and even if he can't come this weekend to the Chicken Ranch, she says they can set up another time that is more convenient for the number one overall pick. And here's something that may be the clincher, Shannon. Apparently this offer includes complimentary limo service. So the Chicken Ranch will send a limo to wherever you're staying, whatever hotel you're staying in Vegas, and limo you to the Chicken Ranch to meet up with Roxanne Price with this very generous offer. I don't know the actual dollar value of this offer, but I was very touched by this offer. She must be a football fan.
So many thoughts, so many questions. You mentioned she's the best in their business, and you mentioned Price. I'm wondering if she's the best because of maybe her price point is just can't be beat, or if the actual service she provides is something outstanding. The only advice I have for whatever young man gets taken first, and gets this offer bestowed upon him, don't take it, because this sounds like she will extort you eventually, knowing that you just signed a multi-million-dollar contract and are going to be labeled the next big thing in the NFL. Don't do it. Enjoy the night with your loved ones. No, absolutely not. Don't do it. Is this the same brothel that Lamar Odom used to frequent?
Yeah, I do believe, yes. I think that the
Yeah.
Chicken Ranch brothel
Maybe don't go
in
there.
Nevada, I think, is the most famous one. Yeah. You were talking in terms of this woman and this place, but you made a great point, Shannon. For any of these number one draft picks, who they're going to be targets immediately. We just saw in winning time, Rise of the Lakers when Magic was drafted into the NBA to the Lakers. I mean, automatically, women, and this is 2022, maybe men as well, but automatically, traditionally, women target these guys, and I mean, you got to watch out, because all of a sudden, who was that woman who? She went out with DeJounte Murray for a while. Oh yeah, she was with DeJounte Murray, then she was with Deshaun Watson, or vice versa. And it's like an Instagram model. She's putting all this stuff. I mean, especially now in the era of Instagram models, this is some serious street cred. Not to mention maybe a financial bonanza for a young Instagram model who could forge a relationship with one of these new millionaire NFL draftees.
We're used to seeing the day after the first day of the draft. So typically tomorrow we would see the number one overall pick on campus of his new organization, right? Doing all the photo shoots, signing the contract, doing all of the stuff that typically comes with being that number one overall draft pick. And I don't know if they typically fly out the next day or if it's that night, but if I am the owner of the Jaguars, I am putting whoever I draft immediately on an airplane to make sure that that is not how they start out their professional career under your organization's name.
It's a great idea. And speaking of the Jaguars, Shannon and Jeremy, we had heard for weeks and months that slam dunk, no question, let's move on to the second pick, because the number one pick in the draft will be Aiden Hutchinson, the edge rusher out of Michigan. I'm seeing all this reporting last night that within the last week, and even within the last 24 to 48 hours, edge rusher Trayvon Walker out of Georgia, his stock is suddenly rocketing skyward. I'm looking at the mock draft from Sports Illustrated. They had him going number 8 to the Falcons. Now, this was published probably 2 weeks ago by the time it hit the stands. But apparently, Shannon, there is reporting that people in the front office of the Jaguars and other NFL personnel people around the country all of a sudden are falling in love with Trayvon Walker out of Georgia. So good. You might have a little drama tonight. It might not be Aiden Hutchinson like so many people believe it will be.
Yeah, and when it comes to, talent so bunched within that same position group, you wonder if it becomes, is it their actual play, or are they looking at things like character and potential development, and how they will be again, number one overall draft pick becomes the face of the franchise almost instantly. And with the perception and social media and watching guys kind of be destructive and have that be part of an organization and a team that follows them around throughout a season, it's important that you get these good character guys. And, that's what always seems to worry me with the Cowboys, right? We always seem to bring in these guys. We're like second, third chances. And you're like, I hope it goes well, because if not, it could be disastrous. And I don't know much about the backgrounds of either of these two guys, but that's something that I have in the back of my mind of wondering, okay, is this why we're having this conversation now of the switch? Because for the longest time, it felt like Aiden Hutchinson, no question, he was going to be number one.
Going to be very, very interesting. And part of this, Shannon and Jeremy, as we've seen over the years, part of this could be disinformation. It sometimes benefits a certain franchise to go, oh man, we really want Trayvon Walker, because you may know that a team right ahead of you might be going for someone else. And all of a sudden, if there's some heat on Georgia's Trayvon Walker, if you can get the teams ahead of you to pick him and leave a guy you're really, so I mean, there's a lot of disinformation and you never really know for sure. And I hate to go back to this Las Vegas brothel story that we mentioned earlier, but Tracy Bogert did put a link, so we now can see what she looks like on the live video feed. She is 27 years old, Roxanne Price, and there's a variety of photos of her. And she was the 2017, now that was 5 years ago, she was the 2017 Lover of the Year winner, which I guess is an award that you get at that brothel. But Shannon, Jeremy, for anybody, and I see the marquee at the Chicken Ranch brothel says voted the #1 Nevada brothel of the year. So we're talking the #1 draft pick, Shannon. If you're going to go to a brothel, don't go to any #2 brothel or #3. Why not go on draft night in Vegas? If you want to make it a night you'll never forget. And again, just a generous offer by 27-year-old licensed sex worker Roxanne Price, and the price is right. I do believe.
Well, and
based on what she's telling
her
us,
Twitter
Shannon.
profile says she is discreet, professional, companionship, and that she is vaccinated. In case for anyone that was considering that is something that is there too. And apparently, she just goes on tour for work because she has specific dates.
Oh my goodness.
Which she becomes available, and I guess she's not available next until May 17th through the 22nd, but she says book now.
I don't think there's a lot of states other than Nevada where you can go on tour legally and perform the services that she performs. But okay, anyway, it's so weird. I didn't hear that story till right before we came on the air. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
The
just
Vegas
like
residency.
Barry Manilow has a residency. Sting just got one. Okay, there you go.
Gosh.
Wow, the draft is already getting weird, and it's only 6:25 in the morning. Coming up, the high five. Oh, by the way, before I pimp the high five play of the day, great show this morning, as always. A couple of really great guests. Don Harris, one of my all-time favorites, and probably many of yours as well. News director at News 4 San Antonio, and an avowed opponent of winning time, rise of the Lakers dynasty. We'll probably ask him about that out of the gate, and we'll talk NFL draft and more. Don Harris at 8:05, Andy Everett 8:35, Shannon's Salty Shakedown at just after 7:30, 7:35, 7:40, sports history, sports birthdays, and coming up, the high five play of the day. It's a cool one. It involves some high-profile NFL people who you've heard about on draft day. Oh, and coming up, Shannon has a great question for you that you can react to on our Talkback feature. We'll dive into that next as well. Don't go anywhere. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist. I'm Chris, with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Prince Rogers Nelson. Good morning, Beth Settle. A lot of you in here early this morning. And the first was Jared Taylor, who was in here before we even clicked the button. I don't even know how that works. It works on YouTube. You can see that it's coming. So Jared said good morning. Tracy Bogert, good morning. Hector Gomez. Sam Tobias, Luisa Alanis, Steve Duraco, the original Rock, the original Italian Stallion, the second Rocket Man. Elton John was the first Rocket Man, and Steve Duraco, the second Rocket Man. Good morning, Robert says go Steelers. Anthony, good morning. Astros win, good point. 2 in a row. Astros at 9-9. I read this morning, Tracy. Astros are 9-9. That is one game better than they were a year ago after 18 games. And remember last year, they won the AL West and went to the World Series. They play this afternoon at 1:05. Justin Verlander on the mound for the Astros. Jesse Bratton, good draft day morning. James Rippey, good morning. John Williams, good morning from Dallas. Robert Browning, still in Anchorage, Alaska. How cool is that? All right. Do I need to heat my coffee? I might. So in case you missed the link, I'll pop it in here now. The link, if you want to see Roxanne Price, who is offering her services to the #1 overall pick at the Chicken Ranch. Here comes that link. So that link is in the comments if you're interested. My God, Tracy just sent me another link. A 34-year-old in Houston, from Houston, dies in a golf cart accident at the golf course owned by Jim Crane, owner of the Astros. My God, what a crazy story that is. Fell off a golf cart at the golf course. 34-year-old Christopher Cipra. Late Tuesday night. All right, you're on the golf cart on the course, traveling back to a residence in the community. God, that's awful. The driver, he wasn't the driver. He was hanging onto the back. The driver was driving drunk and hit a manhole cover. That's an awful story. Awful, awful, awful. Wow. Tracy Bogert, man, you get a producing credit for today's show. You're all over it. All right. I'm going to have to just drink my coffee as is because now I don't have time to go nuke it. I don't think I'd be back in time. So we'll just do this. God awful story. I mean, you just never know. There can be freak accidents. Look at Anthony Del Toro says, what happened to the medical center area? It's turning into a ghetto quick. 2 people shot and killed there overnight. Oh, that's awful. I used to live in the medical center area, just off Medical Drive. Now, we've got a great talk back question for you this morning. I meant to get to it in the first segment, but we spent too much time talking about Las Vegas Chicken Ranch sex worker Roxanne Price offering her services to the number 1 overall draft pick. Tracy Bogert says San Antonio has 2 million people. There's going to be shootings. I know. Exactly. Thank you, Tracy. We have a commitment to when there's a big story like the Roxanne Price Chicken Ranch story, if we have to stop what we're doing and report that story and analyze it, that's what we do. Hard-hitting sports journalism, a hallmark of this program. All right. Sam Tobias, did somebody say ice? Happy birthday yesterday to the Iceman, George Gervin, without whom the Spurs would not be here. Oh, and I said there was a great video, Spurs fans and longtime Spurs fans, Tracy, Hector Gomez, if you're in here, on Facebook, the induction of Terry Stembridge, the original voice of the San Antonio Spurs, into the San Antonio Radio Hall of Fame. In fact, I might even be able to find that link. Take a quick look. Yeah, there's that link. Let me go get that link. This video. Say copy link. Thank you. If you're a longtime Spurs fan, if you know who Terry Stembridge is and was, you'll really love this. Even if you don't, so there you go. Sam Tobias saw it. I'm putting a link in the comments here. Now, I just did it for Facebook. Let me do it for Hector Gomez, if you haven't seen that yet, or if anybody the video package is outstanding, and then his speech is he's the guy who made the call to Red McCombs to see if Red would like to bring the Spurs to the Chaparrals at the time to San Antonio. Here we go. Coming back. Let me pause for a second for our evil Facebook overlords.
It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Join in by dialing 1-800-707-9760.
Welcome in. It is draft day. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. In a moment, the high five play of the day. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist, making the show go. Already disappointed in me for mocking, disparaging his beloved Des Bryant earlier this morning. Thank you, Coach. On another radio station. A little bit later, 8:05, Don Harris, sports director at News 4 San Antonio. We'll talk NFL draft and winning time with Don Harris, who doesn't like winning time. He and Jerry West and Kareem and Magic just don't like it. Andy Everett, voice of UTSA athletics. We'll talk NFL draft with him as well. One of the interesting things to watch, as always, whatever school you like, Texas Longhorns, UTSA Roadrunners, Aggies, Red Raiders, USC Trojans, where are players from your favorite school or your school going to go in the NFL draft first round beginning this evening. Shannon Salty Sweeney, before the high five play of the day. We got the cool talkback feature on the iHeart Radio app and a lot of people leave us cool messages, and we play them on the air. You got a very, very cool draft day question for people this morning.
Yeah, we like a good theme here on the Chris Duel Show. So go ahead and check out that new talk back feature. It's super easy. We get those messages instantly, which means we can then replay them on the air as soon as we get them. And we want to know who you would like to see drafted and for what team. So if you could check out that talk back feature and you do it in the style of the draft, a simple, with the 38th pick, the whoever, select whoever, or if you want to go Drew Pearson on us, we're okay with that as well. Doesn't have to be the Cowboys, doesn't have to be the Texans. It could be one of Chris's favorite team, the Patriots, because we all know that is his true beloved. Bill Belichick, he just can't get enough of him. Or if you want to do it LA style and just kind of lazily do whatever because you don't really care about the draft and you're sitting up in your draft house and just slide us a name. That's a great way to do it. So check out that talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app this morning.
Yeah, I would do it like with the 24th pick in the 2022 NFL draft, the Dallas Cowboys select wide receiver USC Drake, London. Not going to happen. First of all, they're not going to go wide receiver. Secondly, Drake London's supposed to go higher than 24, but I'm just saying.
I feel like with James Allen's connections to the NFL, you know how they allow normal people to do picks later on in the draft? I feel like he needs to hook you up with a Dallas Cowboys draft pick one year.
He needs to hook the three of us up. We'll just the three of us.
The ultimate show promotion.
We'll even do a fifth rounder, James Allen. Yeah. He'll be on the show tomorrow. He knows Jerry. Kind of a big deal. He can make things like that happen.
Yeah.
So I mean, he got you a free taco. So
he got us a lot of free tacos, sir. It was overwhelming.
See, that's even better. The only thing better than a free taco is a lot of free tacos.
That's right.
All right. Lots of ground to cover on this draft day. As Shannon just told you, go to that free iHeartRadio app. Let us know what you want, who you want drafted into what team, and we'll play that on the air. We'll have our little early draft preview from you coming up. Right now, though, time for the High Five Play of the Day. This one's pretty cool. High Five Play of the Day is appropriately sponsored by High Five. There are 2 High Five locations in the Austin area. They are outstanding. We talk about them a lot. Big screen TVs everywhere. Outstanding food and drink. Great games you can play. Shannon's been there a lot. You should be there as well. High Five, sponsor of the High Five Play of the Day. Shannon, what do we got going for the High Five Play of the Day?
Today's High Five goes to the one and only Peyton Manning. He, along with the Payback Foundation that he and his wife helped run, have created an endowment, a scholarship at Georgia Tech in his former teammates Demaryius Thomas's name. Demaryius passed away last December, a shock to so many. At the age of 33, they became great friends as they were teammates with the Denver Broncos. The two teamed up to, at the time, take Peyton Manning's all-time touchdown accomplishment. This is such an amazing thing for the Peyton Manning Foundation to do, to give back to Demaryius, who was not only known as a great football player and athlete, but a great person. He did a lot of work in the Denver area with the Boys and Girls Club and Georgia Tech, his alma mater. So they were happy to take part in this as well. The quote from the Mannings: so Demaryius Thomas was an incredibly talented and unselfish teammate, but more importantly, he was a special person and friend. My family and I miss him dearly, and we wanted to honor DT's memory by partnering the Payback Foundation with Georgia Tech to establish the Demaryius A. Thomas Scholarships Endowment. An important part of Demaryius' legacy was the way he inspired the next generation to pursue their dreams with the same perseverance and determination that defined him. Through this scholarship to Georgia Tech, Demaryius will have a lasting impact on deserving youth from his hometown area who can follow in his footsteps and accomplish great things in life. So they're giving back to that Georgia Tech community. Georgia Tech also announced yesterday that on August 8th, will be now and forever known as Demaryius Thomas Day. 8 was the number he wore when he played for the Yellow Jackets, and it'll come with a day of celebration for student athletes as well as Demaryius Thomas.
Man, oh man, what a cool story, and how great for Peyton Manning and his foundation to honor his friend and his teammate, Demaryius Thomas, and to do it at Georgia Tech. Shannon, I like that a lot. You could have done it in Denver, where there are the Broncos, and, that would have been great. And I know there's deserving future scholars in the Denver area who can use scholarships, but to do it at Georgia Tech, where, Peyton Manning obviously went to Tennessee, there's no direct connection from the Mannings to Georgia Tech, to honor him at his alma mater, Demaryius Thomas's alma mater, and for the future, and as you describe and reading deeper into this, they're going to help a lot of deserving kids who need help and scholarships going to college. And man, that's one of the coolest things in the world. When you showed Jeremy and me that story, I already like Peyton Manning. Now I like him even more. That's tremendous.
Yeah. And, I know a huge thing. We've talked to Jeff Traylor about it a lot. It's important. Schools and state schools, they like to have local kids. And that is part of this endowment is that it's an academic scholarship to attend Georgia Tech for incoming freshmen and students from the county in that area where Thomas was. Not only he went to Georgia Tech, but he was born and raised in the area, and they want to help out those who need that financial assistance to get them that education and to be able to stay close to family and to a school that I'm sure many of them in that area have always dreamed of going to.
It's one of the coolest things. I think about David Robinson, the Spurs great who built and runs the Carver Academy and has since, the numbers mind-boggling. I saw an interview with David Robinson not long ago where, I think it's in the hundreds now across the country, schools that he's been a part of building to educate kids. Obviously, people mock him, but LeBron James does a lot with scholarships for young people. And ultimately, he's sending a lot of young people to college, and now this, Shannon and Jeremy. There's a lot of ways you can help out your community, but there's something special about giving young people and kids an opportunity to further their education when, in a lot of these cases, they might not have the opportunity. They just economically and in their families and in their neighborhoods and communities, so many of their peers and their family members have been forced to live their life a certain way without an opportunity to do bigger, greater things through academics. And when you provide this opportunity to young people, this is a gift that not only impacts them and their families for the rest of their lives, but it impacts the community. There are future scientists, doctors, attorneys, people who are going to do great things who might not have done it if they didn't get the opportunity. So, boom. Yeah. Love this. It's great story.
Great to see people who have, that type of income and extra cash on hand to not just kind of throw it towards these organizations that might be in need, but putting a statement behind it and standing by it and creating something out of it. I was considering buying a Powerball ticket this week, Chris, because the jackpot was $473 million. The store I went to, the machines were out of order conveniently, maybe for the best, because that ticket was sold in Arizona. And I just think, that's so much money I can't even fathom, so just to see people like Peyton give back in this way is it's inspiring. And I would only hope that one day I could, earn enough to do something similar and give back to my community the way it's given to me.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I forgot about Powerball. My philosophy on that is buy a ticket.
Can't win if you
somebody
don't play.
Wins. So you can't get struck by lightning unless you put yourself in a position to get struck by lightning. So I remember seeing that story. Go ahead.
What I love about Powerball is like this jackpot was $473 million, but I know like driving down the road and you see like the Texas Lotto signs and it's like 16 million. No, we're gonna wait till that number goes up.
Yeah,
Scoff
I don't want
at that
no
number.
Stinking 16 million. What do you take me for? Exactly. That's hilarious. We will talk a lot of NFL draft today. We already did, and we will continue. Don Harris of News 4 San Antonio at 8:05, Andy Everett at 8:35, and we'll be all over it throughout the 7 o'clock hour as well. But let's talk a little NBA here, Shannon and Jeremy. 2 games played last night, and they were both closeouts. The Milwaukee Bucks beat the Chicago Bulls 116-100. They close out that series 4-1. And meanwhile, the Golden State Warriors beat the Denver Nuggets in a much closer game, 102-98. Steph Curry goes for 30 points last night, and they close out that series 4-1. I like the Milwaukee Bucks a lot. Shannon, there's some Spurs connections there. Head coach Mike Budenholzer, assistant coach Chad Forcier, who I know, and I know his significant other. I don't think he's married to Cassandra Lazenby, who I know real well, but they're a couple, and she's with him in Milwaukee. But what bums me out, and I love Giannis, so I like the Bucks, and it's a small market, and I like it when small market teams win championships. But the Chicago Bulls, I'm bummed out, Shannon, for DeMar DeRozan. He had a great year, especially early, and then he kind of tailed off a little bit, as did the Bulls in the standings late in the regular season. And then in the opening game in this series, DeMar didn't play well. Then he had 41 points in a Game 2 victory. And I remember when DeMar DeRozan wanted to go to Chicago, and to his credit, he could have just signed with Chicago, and the Spurs would have gotten nothing. And he was loyal to the Spurs. He said, no, let's do a deal. You guys trade me. You guys get some assets. It was a stand-up, gentlemanly thing to do by DeMar DeRozan. But one of the things he said when he went to Chicago, he goes, I really want to win. I want to be about winning right now. We have since heard the stories that he wanted to go to the Lakers because he's from Compton, not far from where the Lakers play. But LeBron started talking to Russell Westbrook. So then DeMar DeRozan went to Chicago. I am bummed out, Shannon. DeMar DeRozan's season is over. I wanted to see him go deeper.
Yeah, and the Bulls, you mentioned how great they looked during the regular season. I know they lost Lonzo Ball to injury, and I'm sure that was a hit, especially during this playoff run. Interesting, DeMar's comments last night, immediately following the exit from the playoffs, he described his season with Chicago as perfection. Saying it's been a great year, to say the least. It's kind of a dream come true type of situation, which typically is not something you hear coming out of an athlete's mouth, immediately losing a game for playoff, and effectively ending your year. So his attitude, I think he's a great asset, obviously, to that team and organization. And they gave the Bucks a great run. The Bucks now will face the Celtics in the next round of the playoffs, and I think that may be one of the more exciting series to come out of the East this year, because Brooklyn clearly didn't give Boston the run. So it'll be interesting to see what Giannis and company can do.
Yeah. Jeremy, your thoughts, anything last night? Milwaukee eliminating Chicago or Golden State eliminating Denver? Either one of those pique your interest?
No, I mean, I wanted to see the the Bulls go down fighting, but they were just outmatched, and they peaked too early. They regressed as the season went on, just for a number of factors. But I like to see where they're going, just because they're still relatively young. Not DeRozan, but as a team, they're relatively young. And Zach LaVine just keeps getting better, and Lonzo. It's a fun group to watch. And then the Warriors, now they're waiting for the Grizzlies there for that series that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, the Warriors, man, given all of their playoff and championship experience and getting everybody healthy now, and now having Jordan Poole, the Warriors are scary. And that potential, and I think we can say probable series that Jeremy mentions between the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies in the next round. Memphis still has to take care of business. They got to win one more game to make it happen. But man, that's going to be a marquee, fun, intense series as well. We will dive back into the NFL draft, as we should, on this draft day. Big 7 o'clock hour coming up. Shannon's Salty Shakedown just after 7:30. We got sports history and sports birthdays. And then 8 o'clock, Don Harris from News 4 San Antonio, sports director, longtime staple of San Antonio television and sports reporting. and a great guy, as is Andy Everett, a great guy. Andy will join us at 8:35, so that'll be a big 8 o'clock hour. All things NFL draft. Talk back to us on the free iHeartRadio app. Who do you want drafted to your team? We want to hear it. Make it entertaining. We're going to play it on the air. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. He's Jeremy KOLOK. I'm Chris. Sports update at the top of the hour, and a lot of draft talk coming on the Chris Duel Show. Lucinda Sullivan, good morning. Jason Paniagua, buenos dias. All right, now I'm going to make a run for it and get me some coffee heated. I got a coffee, but it's a little lukewarm. It's lukewarm. Luke, I am your coffee. So I'll be back in a sec. Coffee. My Gigantor Silver HEB Cody, because I can't afford Yeti Strato Tanker O Coffee. All right. Let's do this thing. So there's Jeremy. Mike Taylor, who flew back to Hawaii. Get my states right. Mike Taylor, kind enough to sit in during the break. You know him, you love him. You can't get enough of him. Oh, and there's a glare on him. Back in a sec. Talk amongst yourselves.
When you woke up this morning, before you knocked over your water, feeling around for your glasses, or stumbled to the bathroom to put in your contacts, stepping on every small toy along the way, what did you see? A world that was dull and fuzzy? Instead, what if when you woke up, you saw a world that was bright and clear? It's a possibility with LASIK at LASIK Plus. We've performed over 2 million LASIK procedures nationwide. That's a lot of happy patients, thanks to the expert medical teams at LASIK Plus. LASIK only takes minutes, with most patients back to normal activities the next day. So don't wait. Make your mornings brighter with the help of LASIK Plus. Right now, LASIK Plus gets 20% off LASIK in May. That should be over $900 off for treating both eyes, plus guaranteed financing. Visit mylasicoffer.com. That's mylasicoffer.com. The patient's choice for LASIK. Must mention this promotion if you treat the patient.
Woo! 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 Thank you, Mike Taylor, and the Mike Taylor dancers. I got hot coffee, but that's not all. Oh, wait, no, that's not it. Did somebody say ice? Thank you. I got some ice for my iced tea. I got hot, I got cold, baby. I got caffeine. If I had a caffeine IV. John Nieto, welcome. John Nieto says the Cowboys should sign Uncle Rico in case Dak gets hurt. Not a bad idea. Oh, now that's blasphemy. Sam Tobias, you know there's only one ice. Only one ice, man. I'm honored, but, I mean, come on, man. Jerry Patty Lauder, good morning. Jerry and I go all the way back to the River Center Comedy Club, which no longer exists. Yeah, that was a big story, John Williams. Trevor Reed, a prisoner exchange with Russia, which is really interesting. Whoa, John, I did not know the connection to Sam Freese from Granbury, Texas. I did not know that. You're telling me stuff I did not know. Thank you. Let me take a look. Oh, I need to double check. Okay, this is interesting. I may bring this up. I just saw this. Laramie Tunsil, who on draft night, famously, video of him smoking weed through a gas mask, is minting an NFT of his 2016 gas mask video. Hey, I'm glad you saw that, Hector. And any Spurs fan like you who remembers Terry Stembridge, that's just such a great video. The video package of him, and then to hear him speak. And our buddy David Munoz, who was inducted that day as well. In fact, when Terry is talking about David, that's David Munoz he's talking about. Anyway, I had David ask Terry Stembridge if he'd come on this show, and he said yes, and he said, I'll get you my information. I had Terry, and I still have the audio. I've got it on mini disc. Gosh, back when I was at KTSA, I had a Spurs roundtable. It was Kobe Dietrich, original Spur, in studio with me, Gary DeLon in studio, and then on the phone from Dallas was Terry Stembridge, and it was tremendous. I got to dig up. I used to record my shows on mini disc back, that was maybe 2005. Jeremy KOLOK telling me, John Williams, Sam Freese is from Glen Rose, Texas, not Granbury, Texas. But yeah, Sam Tobias says, Sam has mentioned multiple times that he is from Glen Rose. Thank you, Sam. Jeremy caught that as well. Starts with the same letter, though. All right. Woo! Woo! I stayed up late last night. There's a new Netflix documentary on the death of Marilyn Monroe, and it is done really, really well. I think it's called something like the Marilyn Monroe tapes. And you think to yourself, tapes, really? How interesting can they make that? They made it real interesting. A guy is been an investigator and talked to some really, really big influential people and some big names in Hollywood you would recognize. And I was going to go to bed on time and only watch a little bit of it with my wife. And we were like, all right, there's still an hour left in this. Should we keep watching? Yeah. So it's on Netflix. I think it's called the Marilyn Monroe tapes. I'll look it up, but real good. Real good. Liked it much more than I thought I would. It's very, and we talk about winning time being stylistic. This was very, very stylistic. All right, here we go. I'm going to have to mute for our evil overlords because they tried to destroy the show. Okay, what just happened there? They tried to. Okay, here we go.
Now, Chris Duel.
Welcome to Draft Day, the day we have been waiting for. There's Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, the 4th of July, and then there's Draft Day. I still have to, Shannon, by the way, Chris Duel show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, and the hardest working man in radio, Jeremy KOLOK. Shannon, I don't have my provisions for the draft yet. I meant to go to HEB yesterday. I haven't. I'll have to do it after work. I need enough beer. I know you're a margarita person, but I'm going to need some beer and some chips and salsa. I need enough beer to last 32 picks in the first round. Now a beer
You're on the
a
clock,
pick is
Chris.
a beer a pick might be a little too much. Maybe a beer. If I do a beer every other pick, that would be 16 beers. That's still a little much.
I mean,
the first step is admitting you have a problem.
Yeah,
guess.
what's the is it 5 minutes for each pick?
That's a good question. Jeremy, do you know? It's something like that.
Because I feel like
not off the top of
they
my
do
head.
take longer in the
We'll Google
first
that.
round. I feel in the later rounds is when they just kind of start rifling off names. So you might be able to do one, if not 1.5, every couple of picks.
A beer per pick? Oh my God.
Challenge
I'd be,
accepted.
You gotta have a commitment to
Yeah.
the draft and to celebrating draft night properly. Now, I'm seeing on the live video feed, Shannon and Jeremy, Sam Tobias, and I've seen it there now. The Troy Aikman beer 8. I've seen it. I still haven't had one. I see it on
I've
the
tried
shelves at HEB. I've heard. Okay, tell me what you think. This is why I haven't bought it yet, because somebody told me their experience of it. How was Troy Aikman's beer 8, Shannon?
If you like a light beer, it is a good option. You know, it's not like a
Okay.
craft beer where it's like, you know, they're all about the flavoring of this, the notes, and it really is just kind of a casual light beer. So if that's your alley, I would suggest it. But if you're someone who's into, you know, I know it's spring and summer, the fruit flavors are really coming out of the woodwork. That wouldn't be your thing. But it's a decent option for a light beer, and great for draft day.
Now-
I would think.
Okay. Yeah, well, and again, you know, to drink the beer that is Troy Aikman's beer as a Cowboys fan, that's almost like Holy Communion. It's like drink the wine and take the communion. It's like this is the golden nectar of Troy Aikman. You know, you could even do some kind of a sacrament when the Cowboys have their pick. But my friend Steve Duraco said he tried it. And I think he even tried it like when Aikman came to town. I think he went to one of those bars where Aikman was handing out 8 beers. He said it doesn't have a lot of taste. You know, I know it's a light beer. And again, I drink, you know, like Michelob Ultra, so which I think has some taste. And I like it. And I do like a lighter beer with less carbs because I got plenty of weight still to lose. Is it accurate? Could you make the argument there wasn't a lot of taste involved in that beer?
So when I did taste it, it was part of a larger beer tasting event for a distributor here in town. And so I had tasted a lot of things before and a lot of things after. And as far as taste and flavor is concerned, it was not one of the more memorable things that I had. But we did get a koozie, I believe. So that was fun.
Woo! So, and again, I feel a little bad because it's Troy Aikman's beer. I want to drink Troy Aikman's beer. I want it to succeed. I think it's kind of cool. I love Troy Aikman. Who doesn't? So yeah. So when I heard that, it's all right. I felt a little bad. By the way, just setting the table real quick, and in a moment, Shannon will have you repeat a very, very cool draft day question we have for you this morning, and a lot of ways you can respond, most notably on the free iHeartRadio app on the TalkBack feature. But coming up later this hour, Shannon's salty shakedown on a draft day, sports history, sports birthdays, then a big 8 o'clock hour, less than an hour from now. News 4 San Antonio sports director Don Harris will talk Cowboys, NFL draft, and his distaste, not for 8 beer, but his distaste for the TV show Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. Andy Everett, voice of UTSA Athletics and host of the golf show and our golf guru, and we'll talk NFL draft with him as well. Andy Everett at 8:35. And Shannon, before I just saw a crazy draft-related story we'll get to here in a sec, but you've got a very good draft day question for our listeners and viewers this morning.
The Talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app, it's a lot of fun because not only do we get to hear your voice, but we get to hear your takes on topics of conversation for the day. And as it is draft day, we'd love for you to use that Talkback feature and let us know for your favorite team. Who do you want to see drafted and when you think they might go in the draft? So if you want to do it draft style, like how, you typically hear Mr. Goodell read the drafts off, or if you want to get crazy like a Drew Pearson or some of those fans that get to take the stage, feel free to do that as well. But check out that new Talkback feature when you're listening via the iHeartRadio app to Ticket 760 or AM 1300 the zone. You'll notice that little microphone button. You hit that, it'll immediately start recording after a very short countdown. And once you finish, it'll send and we'll get it almost instantly.
Woo! With the second pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions take Michigan edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson. He will go to the Lions where football players go to die. But he did say his mom would be happy if he went to the Lions because he's from Michigan. And by the way, Aiden Hutchinson's mom, I saw her a lot, late in the season and during all the awards and Aiden Hutchinson's mom, granted, I'm an older guy, Shannon, but let me put it this way. He's got some good DNA going on. Mom still got it going on.
That's like the new thing of both. Because I remember, was it Luca's mom? Somebody's mom in a recent NBA draft was getting all of the attention. And I guess like prior to social media in the 80s, 90s, like, you just knew the player, right? You didn't know about their family. But now moms are, this is their moment as well. They could, look, Dak Prescott's mom has been in a number of his like Campbell soup commercials. Why shouldn't moms be getting paid too?
Yeah. And tonight during the draft, especially if he goes number one, and I'll bet you, because obviously she seeks the spotlight. A, she's a really good looking woman. And B, not in a horrible way. But obviously we wouldn't have seen her, and I wouldn't have seen her a lot late in the season and during the awards presentations if she wasn't interested in the spotlight. So anyway, especially if he's drafted number one tonight, trust me, Aiden Hutchinson's mom worth the price of admission. That's all I'm saying. Speaking of the draft, Shannon, a weird story that I saw just recently. Laramie Tunsil. Shannon and Jeremy, you will remember the 2016 draft. And this was one of the biggest surprises of that draft. And this goes to show anything crazy can happen in the draft. Laramie Tunsil was expected to be a very high draft pick, like top 3, maybe. Then this video comes out on Twitter of him smoking weed with a gas mask the night of the draft, while other teams are deciding, do we want Laramie Tunsil on our team? So exactly, it sounded a little something like this. I believe that's actual audio of Laramie Tunsil smoking weed through a gas mask and a bong. So he fell to number 13. It was the scandal of the 2016 NFL draft. Now, Shannon, is releasing an NFT, a non-fungible token of himself smoking weed in that gas mask that lost him a lot of money in 2016 as his draft stock plummeted. He says, quote, "Man, it was a mistake. It happened years ago. Like I said before, somebody hacked my Twitter account, but he wants to make something good out of it. So he's releasing this NFT, and he says a portion of the proceeds." I always find this a little, I want to learn more. He says a portion of the proceeds will go to the Last Prisoner Project, which supports people incarcerated for cannabis offenses. Shannon Salty Sweeney, how do you feel about Laramie Tunsil kind of owning it, embracing it, and now selling it, an NFT of him smoking the weed through the gas mask?
For a man who, even with that incident occurring, was drafted by the Miami Dolphins, got a $7 million signing bonus, is now with the Texans and has thus far made $52 million. What's a little bit more cash on the side of that? I still don't understand NFTs completely. To me, that's something that if you were to search him, you would still find that picture anywhere. So I don't know why someone would pay for it, but good for him for, I think, learning from the mistake and being able to kind of laugh at the fact afterwards and not, take offense to it. Cause I think he, as a professional, and he's been a professional now for nearly 6 years, I think he gets it now. And you get more money, sir. You don't have enough. 52 million, not enough.
And not to poo-poo this, but whenever I see somebody say a portion of the proceeds will go to this charity, I'd be much more impressed if Laramie Tunsil said, hey, man, all of the proceeds are going to go to this great cause. There are people who are incarcerated for no good reason for some minor cannabis infractions. So I'm doing this for them. Portion of what's a portion of the proceeds? A dollar? I don't know, because you're not telling us. Now, Jeremy, you're you're certainly more high tech than I am. I think you and Shannon kind of rival each other, certainly in MLB The Show 2022, as you both play professional baseball. But NFTs, are you hip to? Can you tell us more about NFTs than we already know?
Well, the only thing I could think of I have some friends that are into NFTs, and they've been teaching me, and they've been making money off of them. So I'm like, well, this seems like quite the interesting concept here. But the one thing I know about NFTs is that a lot of them with their own, it's all about how exclusive they are. There's only one, or sometimes there's only a few, but one thing I know is that a lot of them come with perks, like with other stuff other than just the picture, the NFT. So with what Shannon said about, I mean, obviously, if you Google Laramie Tunsil, what's going to come up?
Yeah.
It's just this picture or this video. That's it. But I know somebody who owns an NFT and it comes with all this other stuff that, oh, you could go here, we'll fly you out to blah 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 blah. And it comes with a meet and greet with Shaquille O'Neal, like this
Ooh.
random NFT he has. So I can only assume that this Laramie Tunsil NFT comes with some sort, maybe even some themed perks and promotions to go with the, what it represents, what the video or the picture, the NFT you're getting represents. Maybe even get to go do that activity with Laramie Tunsil. That would make sense.
If you're a weed connoisseur and a football fan, in the same room, maybe you do it in Colorado where nobody gets arrested, and you can sit down with matching gas masks. Imagine the street cred on your Instagram account if you've got the video of you doing a little gas mask weed inhalation with Laramie Tunsil. And Shannon, just like cryptocurrency, and I've heard horror stories about cryptocurrency, like the value plummeting after people invest a lot of money. I just wonder on NFTs. Now, as Jeremy mentions, if it comes with all these perks, then you enjoy the perks like meeting a meet and greet with Shaquille O'Neal. But I just wonder, you buy your Laramie Tunsil NFT now, what will its value be in 4 years when you want to sell it? Might it be zero after you've used up all the perks and all that stuff? It's just weird to me.
Yeah, are you getting the gas mask with it? Is that part of? Are you getting the physical?
Now that would be
gas mask. And,
hell, I don't know.
And the highest offer right now is 1.42 ETH. I have that means absolutely nothing to me, but that is where it stands. If you were interested in bidding,
1.42 ETH. Jeremy, can you translate 1.42 ETH?
I don't know the conversion, but it's like Bitcoin, to where like Bitcoin is an alternate type of currency. That's what ETH. It's I don't know how to pronounce the word. It looks like Ethereum or something like that. If you were to, because I've never heard anybody say it. I've only read it because it's always just ETH. But it's currency. It amounts to something.
Speaking of, you don't know how to say it. You've only read it. The guy that the Cowboys may draft tonight at number 24. I've been mentioning Sports Illustrated predicts. I'm guessing his name is Boye Mafe, Boyemafe, an edge rusher out of Minnesota. He would hopefully, if they draft him, fill the void left by Randy Gregory leaving the Cowboys to free agency. But Boyemafe could be pronounced Boyemafe or Boye Mafe. I'm going to go with Boye Mafe. Shannon and Jeremy, but it is so weird. It's, I pay a lot of attention to college football, obviously, and I pay a lot of attention to the draft, but I have no idea how to pronounce this dude's name. Boye Mafe is my best guess. So that dude could be a Cowboy tonight, and Sports Illustrated says Cowboys will pick him at number 24 tonight.
Well, I don't really care what his name is as long as he produces on the field.
Yeah.
But I think we've had that before, right? Even with like Taco Charlton, people are like, are we sure it's Taco? Or we say, I mean, I know it says Taco, but are we sure it's Taco? And like Leighton Vander Esch, I still remember there's a YouTube video of, I think his name is Scooter Magruder on YouTube, and he does these great Cowboys videos and
great.
reactions of everything, and that particular draft reaction for Leighton Vander Esch this year, I just remember him, Leighton Vander Esch, like learning how to say his name and like the confusion of which took place when the Cowboys drafted him, which I think a lot of us felt at the time. So but yeah, he sounds like a name that people could put on the back of their jersey. I don't know if he'd outsell Parsons though.
Yeah, but and again, you can say that's my boy. Boy is a Cowboy. Maybe he'll change his name to Cowboy Mafe. Maybe. Speaking of mispronunciations on draft night, Shannon and Jeremy, my favorite ever is out of the NBA. I'll never forget it. Spurs fans remember it. The night the Spurs drafted Manu, the commissioner read his name on the card, and a lot of us didn't know who Manu really was unless you were following. And Jason Paniagua's reading my mind. He said the Spurs, with their draft pick, select Emmanuel Ginobili. It's like, wow, the Spurs just got some dude from Argentina. He's played in Spain, named Emmanuel Ginobili. It is pretty amazing. And then, there's this mispronunciation. Then if the guy becomes a star, Manu Ginobili, his name and his pronunciation becomes second nature, like he's somebody in your family.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something fun tonight to keep an eye on.
That I think of the Oscar flub with John Travolta announcing Idina Menzel as Adele Dazeem. Also, my college graduation, my name was butchered to where I almost didn't walk across the stage because I thought they were gonna redo it because they put an L in my name, and I was like, "There's nowhere. There's not even a letter that looks like an L. Why did we say that?" But I ended up walking because they did not repeat it.
How do you butcher Shannon Sweeney? That's not Emmanuel Ginobili. And again, something like that. You're the person reading names at a graduation. Shouldn't you have a run through?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you?
There's phonetics
shouldn't
too.
you take that? It's a once in a lifetime thing. People are bringing their families. There's video now. Shouldn't there be a run through where you just make sure you got it right? I think so.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Well, and it's not because I can understand you've been speaking for forever and there's all of these students, but I was a December graduation, so there were less people, and my school, the section within my school was the first one to get their degrees. So I was technically pretty early on, even though I am an S. But yeah, adding an L in my first name it never happened before. It hasn't happened since.
Amazing. And on graduation night, as you're about to cross the stage, always memorable. Jeremy KOLOK, we've talked about some things to look for tonight. Maybe a Laramie Tunsil moment, maybe a shocker at the last second. Of course, who's going to go number one forever? People thought it was Aiden Hutchinson. It may still be. I'm seeing a lot of heat for Trayvon Walker, the edge rusher out of Georgia, who may leapfrog into that number one pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, I'm recommending everybody pay close attention for Aiden Hutchinson's mom tonight on camera. But what are other than who are the Cowboys going to pick at 24, or will they move up? What is on your radar for tonight's draft?
Well, the Cowboys are first things first. I'm glad you mentioned also will they move up. I'm interested to see if they make any moves pre-draft. But I do want to see who goes number one, just because there's not that clear-cut favorite. So I'm really interested by that, because it seems like we get robbed of that moment. Like, we know for weeks, we know Trevor Lawrence is going to go number one, or even Adam Schefter. He leaks it before the pick goes in. He leaks it on his own network that they're trying to have this big showcase, this big event. I've heard rumors that they're going to stop Adam Schefter from revealing the picks before they actually, Roger Goodell reveals the picks. But we'll see if he can help himself, because Adam Schefter, he just loves tweeting.
He's kind of becoming a weasel, isn't he? I mean, the Brady thing, some things that he misreports in just a hurry to get there quickly. It seems like almost every couple of weeks there's Adam Schefter did something on Twitter, and it's usually jumping the gun or misconstruing something, or when we had that awful death a couple of weeks ago, just the way he characterized it. I don't know, man. I hope they do find a way to stop him. And one way they can stop him is start blocking his access. That would be something interesting. One more, as we go to break, John Williams points out the NFL draft fashion show. Of course, NBA players like to show off their fashion. A lot of these rookies, we'll see if anybody has something really cool going on fashion-wise as they are there. And it is Las Vegas. So a little glitz, little bling, little glamour. You could see that tonight as well. Something to pay attention to. Coming up just after the top of the hour, Don Harris, the sports director at News 4 San Antonio, his thoughts on the draft, his thoughts on the Cowboys. We will ambush him on Winning Time and his dislike for that HBO Max TV show about the Lakers. Andy Everett just after 8:35. Going to join us talk NFL draft. and God knows what else, probably a little college football, golf, anything's possible with Andy Everett as well. Shannon's Salty Shakedown is next. Sports history, sports birthdays, and more. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Oh, I left my mic off. So I was saying, Chris, that's that is a big thing to watch for. It's cringeworthy when a player is in that green room and he thought and we thought and most people thought he would go a whole lot earlier and then does not. So there's that. Let's see. I've got to record one more spot. Just letting you know, I'm going to do that here. I got to record a Diamonds Direct spot. There's the script, Diamonds Direct. And I normally turn my mic off so you don't have to deal with me. But let's see if I get lucky. Let's get lucky. Got to lower the volume here. All right. Here we go. Diamonds Direct is celebrating all moms this week in a big way. For this Mother's Day at Diamonds Direct, they've put together an exceptional collection of meaningful gifts for any budget. The perfect heirloom pieces to pass down to the next generation of moms. Birthstone rings, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. All moms deserve the best, something she can cherish for years and years. And at Diamonds Direct, that's their specialty. Timeless gifts of jewelry that are meant to be enjoyed for life. Why not surprise her with a bigger diamond for her ring, or a stunning pair of diamond earrings, or an eternity band? Diamonds Direct is the place for the highest quality and best price. Check out their huge selection of colored stone jewelry. Flowers and dinner are always nice, but this year, come let the experts at Diamonds Direct help you find that remarkable gift that says cheers to mom for all you do and who you are. Diamonds Direct. Get store hours, directions, and more at diamondsdirect.com. All right, there was something in there that sounded a little funky. I'm going to have to maybe work with. Let's see. Copy. File. I got to listen to it. I stumbled over something on this. I might have to fix it. Let's see. Where's my Diamonds Direct is celebrating all moms this week in a big way. For this Mother's Day at Diamonds Direct, they put together an exceptional collection of meaningful gifts for any budget. The perfect heirloom pieces to pass down to the next generation of moms. Birthstone rings, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. All moms deserve the best, something she can cherish for years and years. And at Diamonds Direct, that's their specialty. Timeless gifts of jewelry that are meant to be enjoyed for life. Why not surprise her with a bigger diamond for her ring, or a stunning pair of diamond earrings, or an eternity band? Diamonds Direct is the place for the highest quality and best price. Check out their huge selection of colored stone jewelry. That's it. Flowers and dinner are always nice. Kind of little pause there that sounded clunky. Edit that. Of colored stone stone jewelry. Flower collection of colored stone jewelry. Flowers and dinner are always nice, but this year, stone jewelry. Flowers and dinner are always nice, but this year, come let the experts at Diamonds Direct help you find that remarkable gift that says cheers to mom for all you do and who you are. Diamonds Direct. Get store hours, directions, and more at diamondsdirect.com. Yeah, that's a great idea, John. Get mom a diamond grill for Mother's Day. Hey, Mom. You look great with a diamond grill. All right. Let me see if that'll work. Okay, this is. Beautiful. Here we come. Woo! Wow, Sam, I'll ask Jeremy. I don't know if that's the case or not. Here we go.
Let's get back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
We like it when you tweet at us. We like it when you leave us a message, a talkback message on the iHeart Radio app, which is crystal clear and free. And we're asking you to make a draft pick. Make a draft pick for your team, and we'll play it on the air at the iHeart Radio app. You can also dial us up on the phone lines. We do take your phone calls as well at 800-707-9760. Coming up in less than a half an hour, Don Harris of News 4 San Antonio. He's the sports director, huge Cowboys guy, huge Spurs guy, NFL draft, not a huge winning time rise of the Lakers dynasty guy, but he watches. So we'll talk to him about that as well. Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA athletics, just after. Thank you, sir. Just after 8:35, we'll talk NFL draft. what does he expect tonight? And same thing with Don Harris. Somebody else brought up before we go to Shannon Salty Shakedown and sports history, sports birthdays, things to look for tonight. And somebody brought up, I think it was Chris Gonzalez. Yeah. Chris says the last person in the green room. Shannon, that's always fun, cringeworthy television. You got these guys in the green room expecting to go high. And then there's always at least one player who, and we don't ever really know why, at least that night, but his draft stock plummets and everybody else is going out, putting the hat on, knowing where they're going. And we're like at the 23rd pick and some dude is still waiting in the green room starting to sweat. That's fun TV.
Aaron Rodgers?
Ooh, yeah. Then he'll have a grudge for the rest of his career. Good point. Aaron Rodgers was that guy at one time. So again, even if that guy is dropping like a rock, he still might be the next Aaron Rodgers, which one of the many reasons to watch this thing. All right. Shannon Salty Shakedown is seconds away. First, how about some sports birthdays and this day in sports history? On this day in 1961, April 28th, 1961, Warren Spahn pitches his second no-hitter at the age of 41. Dude was pitched a no-hitter at 40. That's like Nolan Ryan material. On this day in 1966, it was the 20th NBA Championship Series, and the series was won by the Boston Celtics. They beat the LA Lakers in 7 games, 4 games to 3, and maybe, just maybe, Jerry West went into a violent, alcohol-crazed rage. Or not, Jerry, if you're listening, don't write me. I'm just dramatizing a little bit. On this day in 1967, Muhammad Ali refuses induction into the Army in protest over the Vietnam War. He is stripped of his boxing title. He will not box again until 1971. 4 years of his boxing prime gone, and he's still the greatest. This day in 1985, Fernando Valenzuela of the Dodgers set a record of 41 scoreless innings to start the season. Fernando was en fuego. And finally, cautionary tale, everybody. On this day in 2007, with the first pick overall of the 2007 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders selected quarterback Jamarcus Russell of LSU. That has gone down as one of the worst quarterback picks this side of Ryan Leaf ever in the NFL Draft. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1964, Major League Baseball infielder Barry Larkin of the Cincinnati Reds. He was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. How cool is that? You get to play for your hometown team, and they're the Reds. And when you were a kid, that whole big red machine was happening. On this day in 1966, John Daly was born in Carmichael, California, winner of the PGA Championship in 1991 and the British Open in 1995. Finally, born on this day in 1980, Dallas Mavericks basketball player Josh Howard. Josh Howard was born on this day in 1980. He now coaches at University of North Texas, Dallas, in the NAIA. He went to Wake Forest like Tim Duncan did, but Josh Howard, now a basketball coach in the Dallas area. Those are your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, monkeys, and brothel sex workers in Nevada offering free services to the #1 overall draft pick. Here it is, your draft day salty shakedown.
Chris, not everyone can be the Astros and enjoy the majority of their MLB season. And if you're a Cincinnati Reds fan, you haven't been enjoying baseball seasons for a while now. So far this season, that team is 3-15, which not only makes them the worst team in their division, but the worst team in the MLB. So bad, in fact, that they have had fans encouraging current owner Bob Castigliani to sell the franchise, and they've been doing so with signs and T-shirts that they've been bringing into the stands, and some folks even wearing the paper bags over their heads, something we're so used to seeing Browns fans do. That's really made its move around to other parts of Ohio. Well, the ownership wasn't a fan of this. They actually asked fans to either remove the signs and the shirts or remove themselves from the stadium. They have since walked that back, saying we encourage fans to come to the games and express themselves, even if the expression is displeasure. Listen, you've already alienated your fans enough by the poor quality of play and the lack of wins. Why kick out the fans that are still paying to come to the games, even though they may be wearing signage that does not please you and maybe is a little discouraging to those on the field, but they are still paying to get in? Why alienate them even more than you already have? Chris, this is a disaster. We talked about the Oakland A's yesterday and their problems, but the Cincinnati Reds seem to be right up there with them. Would you want to kick someone out if they were acting, if you were the owner and they were wearing bags and bringing signs in that were saying you need to sell the team, you're horrible?
Yeah, I mean, billionaires and millionaires, like a lot of people, have big egos. So, probably their knee-jerk first reaction is what they did, throw them out. But then upon further review, you're realizing these are paying customers, and we're going to, the word is going to spread, and there could be a further fan revolt and boycott of the games until the franchise is sold. So they would have been better off just to keep quiet, not say anything, and just let it happen. Now it's a big deal. Yeah, they did it. Now they walked it back. But they're still losing games. Like I said, 3-15 so far this season, the worst record in all of baseball. Moving on to the golf world now for our final two topics today, and would love to touch on these with Andy Everett a little later today. Steph Curry, who I know you don't like the mouthpiece, you don't like the shimmy on the basketball court, but he is a great human, and he has proved that time and time again. And we know he also enjoys playing golf. He often appears in celebrity tournaments over the summer, out over there in Tahoe. That's a big one he enjoys doing. And he's all about giving back to the youth and to, he recently gave a 7-figure donation to Howard University for their golf team to have a golf team for the first time in 40 years. And in continuation with that, Steph Curry has created the Curry Cup. He notes that less than 2% of golfers are people of color. A lot of that has to do with their financials and economic status, because golf is a very expensive sport, because not only do you have to acquire the outfits and the outfitting of clubs, but it also a lot of travel is involved. So this tournament, the Curry Cup, is a five-game tournament for junior golfers ages 12 to 18, boys and girls, and it is free. It is going to be free to those who make it in. The tour will be free, the travel will be free, the lodging and meals will also be free. So he's hoping that this will encourage more minorities to get involved with the game, and to help the youth become more involved with the game, because overall still considered an old man's game, golf is, and so Curry doing his part here. Sir, your thoughts on this, and also what you think our friend Andy Everett might think, because we know he's not a huge fan of the next version of the match, which only includes professional athletes from the football world. But here we have Steph Curry, one of the faces of the NBA, creating his own golf tournament to inspire the youth to play more. I do like the idea. I know I'm critical of Steph Curry mainly for chewing the mouthpiece, which I think is kind of a punk look, but whatever. People love him. I get it. He's done good things. I think this is a good thing. It will be interesting to hear what Andy says. And I think Andy will probably say something similar to what he said about the match. He's not interested in seeing celebrities play. And then he, says, I have a better handicap than those NFL quarterbacks do. But he says, rightfully so, that anything that generates money for a charitable cause and kids is a good thing. So we'll probably get a mixed bag from Andy, but hey man, I applaud Steph Curry for doing this and growing the game and helping kids discover golf. It's cool.
I could only imagine if this tournament finds success in year one, that it would be something that would continue to grow and maybe get other athletes and celebrities alike involved with the Curry Cup. Finally, keeping it with golf, but moving over to Florida. And we all know the best stories come out of Florida, Chris. Naturally, we're here for some good news, except not. Florida, known for their retirement homes as well in those communities. Well, a golf course on the retirement home, there was a 74-year-old who was golfing. Don't know how his game was going, but he became very upset when he saw a 64-year-old walking his dog on the fairway. So upset, Chris, he started yelling at him. And then he pulled his weapon out and he shot him in the back of the leg. And then he went over to him and kicked him in the head and beat him with a couple of golf clubs that now have blood on them. Sir, he has been arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, and shooting a firearm in public. His bail currently set at $51,000. He did all of this because a still old man, in my opinion, but 64, younger than him, walking a dog on the fairway. Now I get it. Golf, sacred grounds. I would assume maybe you're at a retirement community. There are other places to walk your dog, but this is taking it a little too far, sir.
Shannon, and we talk about it all the time, ever since the pandemic, there was craziness like this before the pandemic, but the fights on airlines now, scientific evidence that road rage is up, road rage shootings are up, especially in Houston. Again, this is just crazy. And a $50,000-ish bail, that should be $1 million, because you don't to get a bond. What is it? You pay like 10% or 20% of that. So this guy, if he's a golfer, he's probably got that money, so he'll be out on bail until the trial comes. They need to throw the book at this dude and lock him up. This is absolutely unacceptable. This is god awful. And America 2022, if we're not happy, we'll fight or we'll shoot. That's going on a lot these days.
Can you imagine getting that phone call? Your dad or your grandfather got to go get him out of the slammer because he was playing. You're like, he's at a retirement community. What could he possibly have done? All he does is golf. They were like, yeah, that's the problem. Golfed a little too hard, got a little too invested in his game today. There it is, today's Salty Shakedown.
Outstanding Salty Shakedown, as always. And where do you keep your gun, Shannon?
Right.
I guess, I mean, do you have it on you? Do you have a holster while you're golfing? Do you keep it in the golf bag? I mean, you don't have it down there with the clubs. Is there like a side pocket where you keep the tees and some golf balls, and here's another pocket in my golf bag for my gun?
I mean, maybe the glove compartment, but I don't know. I mean, I guess you're in Florida and maybe he has it in case a croc or something, an alligator hops up onto the course, which they've been known to do. But still, I don't think, I feel like get in your golf cart and drive away. Don't encourage or be, shooting firearms on a property like that.
Absolutely crazy. And there was another golf cart story that Tracy Bogert earlier in the show, one of our viewers on the live video feed, shared with us. Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, owns a golf club, a country club in Port St. Lucie, Florida, and has owned it since 2010. And there were two dudes late at night on a golf cart speeding, and the driver of the golf cart was I think 53-year-old John Herr, H-E-H-R, of Spring, Texas. He has been charged with DUI and DUI manslaughter because his buddy, who was a 34-year-old Christopher Cipra, also from Texas, both of these guys Astros fans, and just a strange twist in the story, the owner of the golf course also owns the Astros. They're flying from the course to a community they're staying in at that golf club late at night, and they go over like a manhole, and the 34-year-old was standing on back of the golf cart. He flies off it, hits his head on the road, and dies. It was a golf cart death. And they charged the 53-year-old driver of the golf cart with DUI manslaughter. I mean, I don't know which story is weirder. The gun story, shooting another guy for being on the course with a dog, and I think I lean that one. But then it's just unfortunate death while you're hanging onto the back of a golf cart, and your buddy's drunk, and I got a feeling the other guy was probably drinking as well.
Yeah, I think, people love to go golfing because it is, a great time to, get together with friends. It's a long day. There's usually some socializing and plenty of drinking that goes on. But, people, I think they think of golf carts more as toys rather than vehicles that can be destructive should they not be treated appropriately. And, that's just super, super unfortunate and something obviously we don't hear a lot of, and thankfully so, considering how much alcohol is typically consumed around golf carts. But gosh, that's horrible.
Awful story. Yeah, I agree. Sorry to hear that. It is draft day. Don Harris going to join us in just a few minutes. He'll join us just after the top of the hour. He's the sports director at News 4 San Antonio. San Antonio people know all about Don Harris for our Austin and beyond audience. You probably know about Don. He's been all over Texas. He's a North Texas graduate. Loves his Cowboys, loves his Spurs. Tremendous sports anchor. Great guy, except he doesn't like the TV show that Shannon and Jeremy and I love, and that's Winning Time, the rise of the Lakers dynasty. So we'll talk about that with Don, and we'll go Cowboys NFL draft with him. Speaking of golf, Andy Everett at 8:35. He's our golf guru, voice of UTSA Athletics. We'll talk NFL draft with him as well. It is the high holy holiday of draft day in the NFL, and we are all over it until 9. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK is the hardest working man in radio today, even more than usual. I just found that out as well. Don't go anywhere. Lots more coming at you. You're listening to The Chris Duel Show. Good morning, Fred. No, Fred, Don Harris is next. In fact, I need that reminds me. Do I have time to do that? I need a Don Harris photo for our live feed. And I just realized that. Let's see here. Whoa, Dean, is this your birthday, man? I would have mentioned that on sports birthdays. Dean confirmed to me that I'm reading that right, and you're celebrating 55 today. I'll do that out of the gate, man, on the radio before we bring on Don Harris. Okay, Dean, first of all, happy birthday. Secondly, we will commemorate that here in just a moment. Happy birthday, Dean. There you go, Louisa. Thank you for that. We'll do that on the radio here in just a sec. Wow. Jeremy, can you hear me? That's the wrong number for Don. Let me give you his number. I screwed that up. I'm going to put it in the private chat. Thank you. Sorry, I'm so glad I caught that. That would have sucked. Wow. All right. Now, that's what I get for multitasking. Let me check this. Yep. Now, okay. There's Don Harris. He'll be joining us here in a moment. Let's see. Here we come. He's good. Great. Thank you. Woo! Don Harris is on board. Here we come. I'm going to mute for a moment for our evil Facebook overlords.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is the high holy day for sports fans, for football fans. It is draft day. It's like Christmas for NFL football fans. We will open up our gifts. We will gather under the draft tree and see what new players will be selected by our teams. Welcome in. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. One of my favorite guys on any level of sports is the news director at News 4 San Antonio. In fact, he has been there for 32 years. Are you kidding me? The one and only Mr. Don Harris. Don, how are you this morning?
What is up, brother Chris? Good to hear your voice, man.
Good to hear you, Don. I got to do this out of the gate. As you know, I'm a big fan. You're on my Mount Rushmore of sports anchors in San Antonio, right next to Dan Cook. I agree with 99% of what you say, but on Twitter lately, you have been bashing one of Shannon's, one of Jeremy's, one of my favorite new drama shows, Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. You, Jerry West, Kareem, Magic, what do you got against Winning Time, Don?
You know, I think this needs some clarification, Chris, because I am thoroughly entertained by it. I must say that I can't wait to see the next episode every time it comes out. But after a couple of weeks of like, they kind of won me over, they went back to the ridiculousness of their just losing credibility. Chris, you're a Spurs guy. You know better than ever. The 1980 All-Star game was not about Magic and Bird with their 7 and 12 paltry points. It was about George Gervin, 34 points in the MVP. Not a sniff, not a mention of the Iceman. So I'll say this. I think it's thoroughly entertaining, and I get that you have to take huge liberties with the truth to make an entertaining show. But sometimes in sports, let's say Rudy, for example.
Yeah.
In the movie Rudy, we don't care that it's factually inaccurate because nobody knew Rudy. But when you put Dr. J's famous Rock the Baby dunk in 1980 over Magic Johnson instead of in 1983 over Michael Cooper, when it's one of the most famous plays in NBA history, that's like saying that Kobe took the .4 shot instead of Derek Fisher. It's ridiculous and it's unbelievable.
All right. Points well taken, but I am at least consoled, Don, that you do find it entertaining. I mean, to me, it is, as a sports fan, it's must-see TV. I really am enjoying it.
Yeah, I think John C. Reilly's brilliant. I think Sally Field is brilliant. I think it's really fun to watch the way they shot it and the way that they use the creative ways of telling the story with the cinematography. I think it's really well done. I think they're doing a huge disservice to Jerry West. That'd be like saying David Robinson was an abusive alcoholic. I mean, they completely whiff on Jerry West's character as a human being. And I think his beef with that is legit. But that said, being as old as we are, I love seeing the uniforms. I love seeing the fact that they're taking commercial flights and all the stuff that we take for granted and that a whole new generation doesn't know about.
He is Don Harris, sports director at News 4 San Antonio. Don, I know your time is limited, so I want to dive into the NFL draft. And, most of us are Cowboys fans. Cowboys drafting at number 24 tonight. How do you feel about the Cowboys going into this draft? And do you think Jerry, Stephen Jones, and Mike McCarthy will make the right moves tonight and throughout this draft?
I think as much as we criticize the Cowboys, they've done a good job on draft day. Last year they had Micah Parsons at number 12. Now that kind of fell to them because they were wanting a corner all the way. But if you look back at their recent draft history, they've done very well. And so I think they're in a position to do well. I was kind of taken aback yesterday when Steven said that there's only about 14 or 15 guys that they gave first round grades to. And so I could see them trading down. I could see them taking best player available. Everybody thinks they're going to take an offensive lineman or a wide receiver. I could see them taking a really good player in a different position and surprise us tonight based on what Steven said yesterday about only giving about 14, 15 guys first round grades. But look, this is one of those drafts where tomorrow or the next day or Saturday, we need to really look closely at rounds 3, 4, and 5 because that's where the value is this year. Don't get too worked up about who's the number one pick. Let's see what they do with those 4 fifth-round picks because there's a lot of good players that will make their team in rounds 2 through 5.
Well, and Don, you look at what the LA Rams have done. They've traded for the last few seasons, traded away their top draft picks, but they've really added a lot of value in those middle rounds. I totally agree with you. Dallas really, especially, needs to make some hay in those middle rounds. What do you think the biggest needs for the Cowboys are? Is it offense? Is it defense? That offensive line getting long in the tooth as well with Tyron Smith. What do you think they have to address?
For sure, offensive line. I don't know that they have to do it through the draft. The Joneses have said that free agency isn't over for them yet. I think we've all been very unimpressed with what they've done in free agency so far. So I think they could address some of the needs on the offensive line after the draft through free agency. But yeah, with either the draft or free agency, they have to do something with the offensive line because, that is absolutely their biggest need. They lose Amari Cooper. They could use another wide receiver. And I still think they could use some help in the secondary. But I think it's in that order that they need to address these issues. And the good thing is, with COVID affecting so many college careers and them getting that extra year, you have guys that had redshirt years and COVID years. So you have some guys that have, grown men, 6 years playing college football. And a lot of guys who were going to come out last year stayed to play that extra year of eligibility. So it by far is a jam-packed draft with lots of talent. That's good news for the teams. It might not be great news for a guy like Sincere McCormick at UTSA, who is coming out in a draft where, it's really, really deep. We might see some of our favorite UTSA guys have to sign free agent contracts after being passed up. But that's not a bad thing. You look at Priest Holmes, undrafted. You look at Malcolm Brown, undrafted. And those guys played 10 years in the league. So I think it's really good for the teams, not so good for the players because there's a lot of competition in this draft.
Don Harris is the anchor and sports director at News 4 San Antonio. Be sure to check out all of his sportscasts. Always great stuff, including Don's Extra Point. He's a tremendous follow on Twitter as well, at Don Harris 4. Don, we got to do this more often, man. Love talking sports with you. Thanks so much for taking the time this morning. I appreciate it.
Chris, I listen to you every Thursday. It's about the only day I'm up this early. I listen to you every Thursday on my drive into a show that I tape every week. I'm always available for you on Thursday mornings, brother.
We will do it, and I'll know that on Thursday mornings is when I should take my shots at you for dogging Winning Time on HBO. So now I know that. But yeah, no, Don.
I like it. You have to agree with me. It's factually inaccurate. That's all I'm saying. But it's fun to watch.
All right. As long as we both like it, that's good. Let's do it again, Don. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
He is Don Harris. Thank you, Don. Don Harris. not only wildly talented, but just a good guy. Don Harris does great stuff for the community. And I mean, he is puro San Antonio, although he went to North Texas. So across the state of Texas, Jeremy KOLOK, you and I and Shannon were huge fans of Winning Time. Does Don Harris's multiple inaccuracies that he cites about Winning Time, yet he says he watches every week and he finds it entertaining. Are you satisfied with that response from Don Harris?
Yeah, I get what he's saying. It's funny. I feel like I could really tell how much it irritates him that there's historical inaccuracies. I mean, if I feel like it really gets on his nerves when he's sitting there, he's just trying to relax and watch what he said was a really entertaining TV show, and then there's something that he knows is incorrect. It seems like that really gets on his nerves. So
yeah,
hopefully he could still enjoy it we see these final 2 episodes, despite the fact that there will probably be more historical inaccuracies.
Yeah, but man, it is so entertaining. And he did say, and for those of you who may not have watched it yet, John C. Reilly as Dr. Jerry Buss. He plays the role of Dr. Jerry Buss. And I know if you haven't seen it, you go, a dude playing an owner, that's like somebody playing Peter Holt or, I mean, no. I mean, John C. Reilly as Jerry Buss is one of the most engaging, funny, flawed characters. If John C. Reilly does not win the Emmy Award for this, Jeremy, I will. I may storm the television academy with pitchforks and torches because I mean, every subsequent episode I'm watching John C. Reilly, and he mentioned Sally Field and others. The guy who plays Kareem, I don't have his name in front of me. He's tremendous. The guy who plays Magic, I believe I'm seeing Magic Johnson. He embodies Magic so well. But Jeremy, John C. Reilly just through the roof on this performance.
Yeah, just a masterful performance, and I think I'll join you to go storm whoever's in charge of that, the motion picture people, if he doesn't get an Emmy, the Academy and whatnot. And you mentioned it is a little weird. We don't see owners portrayed in movies a lot or TV shows. You don't.
Yeah.
They're usually behind the scenes, but there's one man who's not behind the scenes. That's Jerry Jones. And I mean, one day, Chris, there's gotta be something, a TV show, a movie or something. So all I can hope is that whoever portrays Jerry Jones can do at least somewhat as good as a job as John C. Reilly, who is portraying Dr. Jerry Buss.
Amazing you bring that up, Jeremy, and I'll have to look up the name of it. Jeff Pearlman, who wrote the book Showtime, on which Winning Time is based, he wrote a book about the Cowboys. And I'll go look up the title, but you just search Jeff Pearlman on Amazon or wherever. But that was all about the Jimmy Johnson era Cowboys that had the White House, which was a house they rented on the other side of the practice field, and they would bring women in and they would bring prostitutes in and they would snort cocaine in the White House is what they called it. And a number of the I think Michael Irvin, I think, was one of them. But oh my God, I didn't even think about that till you brought it up, Jeremy. If they ever do a Winning Time like drama about the Cowboys in the Jerry Jones era, you got this story now of Jerry Jones and the woman, the 25-year-old who says Jerry's her father. You got the story about Rich Dalrymple, the communications executive who had to resign, and there were lawsuits because he was surreptitiously videotaping Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders when they're changing clothes. Oh my God. There's those photos of Jerry that circulated 20 years ago that night when he's with those women in a hotel room. Michael Irvin and his peccadillos. I mean, there is so much. I mean, it's to me 10 times more ripe for dramatization than even the Lakers and Winning Time is. So, man, if they haven't had that idea yet, Jeremy, the producers of Winning Time and HBO should really consider the Dallas Cowboys somewhere down the line. Anyway, thanks to Don Harris, one of my favorites of all time, and he's so darn good. Dean Stone is a regular listener and viewer on our live video feed, And I just found out a few minutes ago, it is Dean's birthday. So happy birthday, Dean Stone. He is the double nickel today. Dean Stone turns 55 years old today. So, Dean, you are 15 years younger than George Gervin, who turned 70 yesterday. So you're still a child. You're still a young tyke. So a happy birthday to Dean Stone. As we talk about this draft tonight, again, a little bit of intrigue. And you mentioned, Jeremy, that we thought there was a clear-cut first rounder for weeks. All I kept hearing was Aiden Hutchinson of Michigan, the edge rusher. He's it, no question. And now more and more as the draft gets closer, and as I read this stuff, and as we talk about this stuff, I also have to remember a lot of disinformation happens among NFL franchises, especially as they get closer to draft day. But the big story last night was the edge rusher out of Georgia, Trayvon Walker. His stock is apparently skyrocketing, and apparently there's some reporting that there are personnel executives inside the Jacksonville Jaguars organization who like Trayvon Walker better than they like Aiden Hutchinson. And we've talked about what those implications could mean for Aiden Hutchinson, who went to Michigan. And the Lions have the second round draft pick. I mean, even if I'm from Michigan, like Aiden Hutchinson is, Jeremy, I don't want to go to the Detroit Lions. There is no evidence. There is no reason to believe that the Detroit Lions are going to be a good football team, even with talent. This is the team that had Barry Sanders. This is the team that had Megatron, Calvin Johnson. This is the team that had Matthew Stafford, who we now know is a Super Bowl championship quarterback, and they screwed it all up. And there's no reason to believe that once they get Aiden Hutchinson, a new era of smart decision-making and championship years are coming for the Detroit Lions. I mean, what a night this could be for Aiden Hutchinson if, after all these months, everybody told him he was going to be the number 1 overall pick, and then he falls to number 2, maybe tonight, and winds up going to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, the only thing I wouldn't want to go to the Lions under almost any circumstances. Not that I'm an NFL talent, but I'm just saying. And the only thing I could think of, the only thing I thought of is, like you said, the Jaguars have the number 1 pick. If Urban Meyer was still the coach there, if he was still the head coach, then I might be like, all right, yeah, send me to Detroit instead of being coached by Urban Meyer. That's the only thing I could think of in that scenario. But other than that, I think, yeah, there's pretty much exactly 31 other NFL teams I would rather be on than the Detroit Lions if I was in that position. It's just, yeah, unfortunate for him, even if it is its home state team. Why would you want? And also Barry Sanders, Oklahoma State. Great.
Ooh, there you go. Yes, indeed. Don Harris spoke with us about the Dallas Cowboys and what they might or might not do. He mentioned offensive line. He mentioned wide receiver. I can't imagine the Dallas Cowboys. I know they lost Amari Cooper, but they still, I think, have a lot of riches at wide receiver. I just think they have so many other holes on the defensive line now with Randy Gregory leaving. I think they got holes in the secondary, Jeremy. And yes, that offensive line. I'm going to be fascinated to see what they do tonight. And Don Harris mentioned Stephen Jones saying in the press conference a couple of days ago that there's not a lot of first round grades that the Cowboys gave out, which may signal, now 24 is not that high. 24 is almost, once you get to 33, you're into the second round. But it almost suggests that the Cowboys may trade back in the draft. But you look at, I mentioned the Rams, Jeremy, the way they, what they've done the last few years and won a Super Bowl doing it is trade away your top draft picks to get the players you really, really want, like Matthew Stafford and others, and then be really, really good at the draft. Be really, really good in the third round, the fourth round, the fifth round. That's what the Cowboys need to do tonight. And as Don mentioned, they have drafted well lately. They really need it tonight because they've lost personnel. And I think we found out in the playoff game against San Francisco last year, they're not ready for prime time. Even as constructed last year, I think it was kind of fool's gold for the Cowboys. And now you've lost Amari Cooper. You've lost key personnel like Randy Gregory on that defense. A lot of holes to fill for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Don mentioned too, the middle of the round picks. I'm glad y'all mentioned it because I think that is so important in this weekend's draft, not tonight because of the first round, but you can only fix one issue with that first round pick if you only have one first round pick. So, I mean, the positions where you might have a couple of gaps to fill, like the offensive line and the secondary. I mean, those middle of the round guys or even late round guys are going to be guys that you might need to step up or at least start developing so that you could plug them in soon. And I think that's, you mentioned Randy Gregory too. That is a huge replacement. With the way he played last year, especially with DeMarcus Lawrence out for so much of the year, and then DeMarcus Lawrence gets his money, I'm a little worried that we might see a dip in production from him, then we lose Randy Gregory. I think the defensive line is a major focus that's even not getting enough emphasis, especially from the Jones family.
Yeah, I would, if they go defensive line with that number 24 pick, if they stay there, I'll feel good about that tonight as long as they get value. Quick break coming up. Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA athletics. We just heard Don Harris mention Sincere McCormick and how, given all the running backs in this draft, and we've talked about Sincere McCormick with Andy and how he might not go in this draft, but might be an incredible value like the night of the end of the draft that a team, hopefully the Cowboys, could sign Sincere McCormick and have him as a very, very good running back on their roster for years to come. We'll talk NFL draft and more with Andy Everett coming right up. More with Shannon Salty Sweeney as well. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist. We're with you till 9 o'clock. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show.
She's my pride and joy. She's my
All right. Our thanks to Don Harris. Now I have to edit one more spot here. See if I can do this. Actually, I've got more than one. Second one here. Yeah, Dean, I meant to get to your birthday at the top of that segment, and then Don had to be out by 8:15. So I had to kind of juggle a few things to make that happen. All right, let me save this. Thank you, David. Very nice of you. Good morning, Frank Ramirez. Welcome in. Jason Paniagua mentioning Chris Middleton to miss the second round of the playoffs. That's not good for the Bucs. DQ Tran says Don Harris had more coffee than I did this morning. Okay, now I need to edit 4 other spots. Where are those? That is QC Kinetics. And what I need to do is which is which? 513-4303. 512-593-4303. In Austin and Round Rock, 512-593-4303. That's 593-4303. Call QC Kinetics now. You'll be glad you did. QC Kinetics. What's happening?
I haven't seen a single minute of this Laker thing on HBO.
It's outstanding. It's so good.
I was a Laker fan before the Spurs game today.
Do you have HBO?
Yeah. I just haven't seen it.
You got to catch up. It's so well done.
But I used to be such a big fan. I don't know if I told you I went to see the Lakers play the Rockets here. And, the Rockets had agreed to play 6 home games.
Yeah. So pre-Spurs, pre-73.
October of 72, after the Lakers had won the title the year before, the season in which they won 33 games in a row, I bought tickets to see the Lakers and Rockets play. 10,146 people.
Which was the number, that was capacity.
Lakers won 112 to 107. They had trailed most of the game, and then when they rallied, the arena goes crazy with all Laker fans.
Yeah.
And then the next day in the paper, the Rockets are asking, how is it that we're playing a home game and you have these people cheering for the Lakers? Well, you're the Rockets. These are the world champions.
Yeah, they're the Lakers.
Will
yeah.
and Jeremy and all these guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I was just starting to watch like those nighttime NBA games with Wilt, Gail Goodrich, Jerry West, Jim Jones.
Jim Jones.
Was he not there yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Happy Hairston, yes.
Yeah.
Baylor, yes.
Yeah.
But it was great. And I think my ticket was $3 or $4 or something like that.
Wow. Amazing.
I met Jerry West once.
Did he go into an alcoholic rage and start throwing things?
When the Lakers were here, he was here for one game. He was sitting in the stands. I got there early. I went up to say hello to him. Very, very nice.
Was he drunk out of his mind? Did you smell the bourbon?
Very, very nice
Okay.
man. Very classy. Very nice man. I've
Yeah.
heard these things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe, but
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah, I find it hard. But he did what is accurate, and they portray it when he was apparently his dad in West Virginia was abusive and drunk and beat his mom. And there is the story Jerry said he went to bed one night with a shotgun just waiting for
How'd you tell that story?
yeah, and he was going to shoot his dad if he had to. Crazy. I did watch, and it was very cool on Facebook. I saw your induction, your video, and your speech. And then I watched Terry Stembridge, which was amazing as well. And I noticed he's talking to you at the beginning of his speech. He goes, as I was telling David earlier, I even told people on this morning, I said, he's talking to David Munoz right there. So
I just wish he'd contact you.
yeah, either he will or we'll find him, or I'll just replay my 2005 interview with him on KTSA, which I still have on mini disc. Yeah. Yeah. Take care. Yeah, Fred, that was the Over the Hill gang of George Allen back in the day. Let me find my Andy Everett photo. There he is. All right. So did I save that? I think I did. Now, let me see this. So I need to open one of these and then find the tag. 710318 in Hollywood Park in Westover Hills. Darn it. Come on. Treatments with natural biologics are here. Call QC Kinetics now. 210-571-0318. Here, call QC Kinetics. Ah, shoot. How long is that? You're kidding me. Okay, now I'm losing my mind. It's official. Objects are here. Diamonds Direct is celebrating all. Oh my God. How the heck did that happen? All right. Thank you, sir. Andy Everett is on board. Here we come.
Back to the
Katy Perry, she kissed a girl and she liked it. Welcome in, Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA Athletics, host of the golf show on Ticket 760, Saturday mornings at 8 o'clock. Katy Perry fan. Andy Everett, how are you on happy draft day morning to you, Andy Everett?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good. Do you have your draft tree up at the house with ornaments on it like football socks and beer cans and Dorito bags, everything you need for the draft tonight?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I look at drafts like I do recruiting. It's great when you get the guys signed up and everybody gets excited, and if there's a trade or something where one good player goes to another one, that's kind of fun to see who's going to be somebody else's new teammate. But let's see, over the course of the next few days, there'll be somewhat of around 210, 15 players drafted. I know there's usually some supplemental picks in there somewhere. So 225, whatever it comes out to be. And most of them we'll never hear of. And some of them that we think will be great won't be. So I temper expectations when it comes to drafts. Obviously, if you draft somebody in the first round, you're expecting that player to perform and be a great player for you. And hopefully all 32 teams that draft their pick tonight are able to have that success. But I don't really get too excited, especially this draft when there's really no star power in it. It's one thing when you've got 4 or 5 quarterbacks that are all going to probably start for one team, but this year's draft may have some really good players in it, but it doesn't have that star power that is the consensus number one that everybody says everyone should take.
Well, Andy, there are a couple of former Roadrunners who are hoping that they receive a life-changing call this weekend. Are there any draft watch parties or celebrations that you know of that might be going on in the San Antonio area for those guys?
I don't know any that are public. I'm guessing that I don't know if any of them have gone to the draft or are going to be out there for that. But I kind of expect that tomorrow on day 2 that we'll hear Tariq Woolen's name called. Somewhere in the second or third round is where the expectation is for him, mainly because he ran one of the fastest 40s in the history of the draft. And players and general managers love speed. You can't coach that. I would imagine somewhere between the 5th and the 6th round, I think Spencer Burford will be drafted. And the wild card is Sincere McCormick. Where does he get drafted, or does he? As I mentioned to you guys last week, I think that regardless of whether he gets drafted or gets a camp invite, one of those two things will happen. And when they see the ability and the durability of Sincere and the fact that I'm sure he fumbled once at UTSA, but I don't remember it. And I know that he didn't fumble any his last 2 years. He had something like 300 and some carries. Was an NCAA record that he kept piling onto every time he carried the football, where he did not fumble. And so when you have a running back that can get you tough yards, can catch passes out of the backfield, and rarely, if ever, fumbles, that's a commodity that a lot of teams are going to want.
And Sincere McCormick, and you talked about him last week with us, as you mentioned. Don Harris of News 4 San Antonio brought him up just a few minutes ago on this show. Assuming that he doesn't get drafted, obviously, and it always happens, there's a huge talent pool of players who don't get drafted, and teams are scurrying to try to sign them to come in as free agents. So from Sincere McCormick's perspective, assuming, say, 9 teams would like him, is then he and his agent and his people, do they look at the rosters on each of these teams and say, hey, I have my best chance to make this roster, so I'm going to go to this team?
Yeah, I think that's part of the equation. And remember, he's got Jeff Traylor as a resource, and Jeff Traylor's son works for the New Orleans Saints.
Ooh.
So he can get the inside scoop as to what the other NFL teams think about him. And do you have a spot for me, and how deep is your running back room? We saw Jerry Jones overpay Ezekiel Elliott a few years ago, but when he did make that pay, when he did make that contract, we all thought it was a good idea. And then Zeke really hasn't been 100% healthy since signing that contract. And while I think there's a lot of teams that would like to have an Elliott-like type running back, they're very cautious about running backs because of their lack of longevity. And this has become a quarterback, wide receiver, left tackle league on offense. And you can make things okay with a cheaper player at that position. And so if you've got a player in your camp that this guy's holding out and I got to play the backup, well, who's going to be his backup? Sincere McCormick may be the right answer for that. So you've got a lot of teams are probably going to want him in that unrestricted free agent class if he doesn't get drafted. And I think worst case scenario, he's on someone's practice squad next year. And once he gets in a game, and even in the practices, once they let him carry the ball a few times and see the tough yards that he gets and the durability that he can take as a running back, I think there's got to be a spot for him on some roster.
Andy, you are the go-to for golf, and Phil Mickelson is getting back in the game after missing the Masters. He's registered for the PGA Championship and U.S. Open, but he also requested his release for that Saudi Arabian tournament. What can you tell us about him and his situation, and how may this go down? Because it seems like it's either one or the other in regards to the PGA versus Saudi Arabia tournament.
Well, understand the PGA Championship is not sanctioned by the PGA Tour, although they do have a much better relationship than they did in past years. And the PGA Championship could probably take the advice of a Jay Monahan and not let him play in the PGA if that was their inclination. I think people want to see him defend his championship. But I think the thing that must happen before the PGA is that Phil has to hold a press conference and Jay Monahan has to hold one, and hopefully they come to some kind of an agreement on what Phil and other players are going to be allowed to do. I mentioned this many times. This event is opposite the Canadian Open, and the purse is going to be $25 million, and the Canadian Open purse is $8 million. Well, if you let Phil go, then you have to let everyone go. And now the Canadian Open has a substandard field, probably about the equivalent of a Korn Ferry event. And does RBC and its other sponsors and does FedEx want to put up with that? And if you're going to allow players to jump leagues whenever they feel like it, because they don't like the course or they don't like the date on the calendar or because your purse is 3 times more than you can afford because of the Saudi oil money, then you're really taking the PGA Tour's events that are opposite that and making them a second-rate tournament. And that's one of the reasons a few years ago why Valero insisted on moving the tournament before the Masters instead of after, if they were going to sign on long-term, because they want to have the ability to have stellar fields. That's what attracts people to buy tickets. It's also what attracts people to watch it on TV and see Valero as a sponsor. So this is going to still isn't resolved. The PGA Tour does not say that you're suspended, but I don't think there's any question in my mind that Phil is under suspension still. And so he can't, until he is able to resolve that, you won't see him at the Wells Fargo event this year in Maryland. You won't see him at the Byron Nelson or Colonial, which is events he's played in before. But he can play in the PGA because the PGA Tour doesn't have anything to do with the PGA Championship. And he can play in the U.S. Open or the Open Championship as well. So he signed up for those events, and he's asked for that release for that event in London opposite the Canadian Open. But I don't think this is over yet. And I think that Jay Monahan has to say no to Phil on this release after all the controversy that we've had over the last few months. And that will then potentially open up some kind of a legal battle as to what the players are able to do. But Phil's got to understand that he's made his $1 billion almost playing on the PGA Tour. And if he's going to slap it in the face, they're going to fight back because they have to protect all of their tournaments, not just the big ones.
Talking with Andy Everett. And Andy, we talk golf with you. It's hard to talk golf in 2022 and not bring up Tiger Woods. What have you learned about what's next for Tiger and any news on the Tiger front that you're aware of?
Well, he did sign up for the PGA Championship, and I was doing the afternoon show yesterday with Sam. They both committed to the PGA on Monday. And I said, I think it's the first time in the history of that rivalry, if you will, where the Phil news was bigger than the Tiger news. It rarely ever, if ever, has happened because, we kind of expected Tiger's going to play at the PGA. He won the last time the PGA was at Southern Hills in 2007. And so we kind of expected he would sign up for that tournament and do everything he can to get his body in shape to be there. But the question about Phil is are we going to learn any more about his future and his PGA Tour future and all that before the PGA? And I think that's one of the things that a lot of players would like for Phil to do is not show up and answer and either have to answer questions or refuse to answer questions about it prior to the PGA Championship. The storyline needs to be about the golf tournament, not about what Phil's going to do. So I think a lot of people are hoping that in the next 2 to 3 weeks, there's more resolution of this. But I think Tiger plays the PGA. If he's able to play a couple of weeks later at Memorial, he plays there. He plays the U.S. Open and the British Open, and probably that's it for the year. There may be a fall event or two that he'll try to play in. He is going to play at a Pro-Am in Ireland about 12 days before the Open Championship, but I think it's only a 2-day affair, and I'm kind of thinking that carts are going to be available for that event if he should want them. It's not a television event. So I think we'll see Tiger a little bit, but we're not going to see him a lot.
Andy Everett is the host of The Golf Show on Ticket 760 on Saturday mornings at 8. If you're outside San Antonio, you can always catch that on the free iHeart Radio app, which is a beautiful thing. And, of course, he is the voice of UTSA athletics. And, of course, as we move closer and closer to football season, we'll be talking a lot more college football with Andy in the coming weeks and months. Andy Everett, I'm a little disappointed you're not going to be huddled around the television for the next 4 days watching the NFL draft, but we certainly appreciate your perspective, and we'll keep an eye on the UTSA players.
Yeah, I'll watch some of it. I won't be I'm kind of interested to see when Sincere and Tariq and Spencer get drafted. And I think there's another 8 or 10 UTSA players that are going to get camp invites. So I'm excited for them, and I hope their name is called this weekend.
All right, Andy, as always, great stuff. We appreciate it. Thanks so much for taking the time, and enjoy the rest of the week. Thanks so much.
You bet.
All right, Andy Everett, the voice of UTSA athletics, and pulling the curtain back. And Shannon, I see you've already tweeted about it. If people were wondering where you were during our Don Harris interview, you had a little excitement going on in your studio in your building.
I mean, we were in the middle of the break, about to come back, and the loudest screech I think I've ever heard. And I don't know, I haven't been in school in a minute, so I haven't had to do a lot of fire drills, but the fire alarm was raging here at the iHeart Austin building. Super loud. Went outside. There were a lot of people out there. It wasn't a drill, apparently. But there is no fire. There's no smoke. I think it was some people are saying water pressure. Apparently it happened like 2 months ago that the water pressure got too low. So the fire alarm went off, and it was fun. We were outside, and then there's the Pennybacker Bridge, and you can see the fire department making its way over. But luckily it got us back in time for the final segment today, but disappointed I didn't get to talk to Don and had, got the video I posted. I mean, we're outside and you can hear it like screeching, and it doesn't help that we're by the lake. So it's just echoing off of all the limestone out there.
Go check out Shannon's video on Twitter and elsewhere at Shannon B. Sweeney. I did talk to Don Harris. He said he will come back. So we'll grab Don again and hear him rant and rave about the inaccuracies of Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. He did say he is entertained by it, and he does watch it every week. He just loves to point out the inaccuracies in the script. And his biggest thing last week was Dr. J with his drive to the basket and underhand basket and slam dunk, that in real life it was over Michael Cooper in 83, not over Magic in 1980. He had a problem with that. So,
I mean,
oh well.
I think they love
James
the haters.
Allen. Yeah. It was a great interview, though. Love Don Harris. Thanks to him and Andy Everett. I see James Allen of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He says good morning from our live video feed. He'll join us tomorrow with first round NFL draft reaction from James Allen tomorrow morning at 8:05. From Coach A, Paul Alexander, tomorrow at 7:05. And from Shannon and Jeremy and me all morning long, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. tomorrow. Our thanks to Shannon, Salty Sweeney, Jeremy KOLOK, bang up job as always, as Soundscape Stylist, Don Harris, Andy Everett. Enjoy the draft. Happy draft day. We'll see you tomorrow. Adios. Hey, James Allen. Tomorrow at 8:05, sir. We look forward to having you on. I'm still going to go Aiden Hutchinson, because a lot of people are now saying he won't be, but I'll still go Aiden Hutchinson. Fernando, I apologize. I ran out of time with Andy, and I knew he wouldn't be able to answer that question. As the radio voice of UTSA athletics, he's not going to know in advance if they're going to make a coaching change with Steve Henson. And even politically, as the radio voice, he can't say anything, overtly critical. Not that he would even want to, but I was going to get to that question at the end, and I knew we were running out of time. So, Fernando, I will usually add that question, but our first priority was to talk NFL draft, and our second priority with Andy was to talk golf. And so third I was going to go to your question, but I ran out of time with him. So my apology on that. Pablo says UTSA ain't a basketball school. All right, y'all. Have a great Thursday. Enjoy the NFL draft, and we will be back at you tomorrow. Have a great Thursday. See you tomorrow. See you in 21.